Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Get the Flick Out of Here. I'm your host, Alex Pawlowski. With me, as always, is Kate, Elizabeth, and Kate. This last week was yours. You picked out a movie, and it made it. I like your coffee.
It happened. It was
Yeah.
a movie that happened.
It was a movie that happened. You
I
forced
did
me to watch
not know
it.
you were gonna seek revenge this hard, man.
Here's the thing about bad movies. Okay, here's the thing about bad movies. Some of them are bad, and also like I want to turn this off. I don't want to watch it anymore. And I know that if I turn it off now, I won't be missing anything. It's
Right.
just generic, and there's no new ground being broken. It's as normal as it possibly could be.
Not even fun bad.
Not even fun. And then there's bad where you're like, it's not that it's enjoyable, it's that I gotta find out what happens next, because this movie is bad, but also just so batshit insane. You have to see it to its conclusion. And brother, thank God that if you make that choice, thank God you did, because the end of this movie is so incredibly insane. And the thing about it is that at the time it was made in 1984, like it could not have been a safer bet. It could not have been like this was made as a big Hollywood vehicle for, I would wager, the top heartthrob TV actor in America, at least. It featured the acting debut, I'm assuming, of one of the biggest rock stars in America.
Why are you assuming that this performance didn't say this screams I'm an experienced actor to you?
I mean, I honestly, if this was his first movie or his 10th, I'm assuming he'd be the same in everything he was in. Okay, I'm purposely withholding the information about who these people are and what the title of the movie is as long as possible, because it is just delicious to me that we can do this. And
Alex, I hate to break it to you, but do you see the title of our broadcast?
I know. I know. Okay, here's the deal. I know. Shh. Maybe they haven't read it. Maybe they can't read. Shh. Okay. I think when you think of our fans and illiterate, like, that Venn diagram has got to come together at some point. You know what I mean?
Excuse me. I think our fans are the creme de la creme of what we do.
Honestly, they listen to the stuff that we say. They can't be that smart. Okay, so the writer and director of this film had written a string of very well-received science fiction novels. I believe he was greatly involved with the at least a miniseries of one of them. And here's your first major hint: would go on to have one of his novels adapted into one of the biggest movies ever, a scant 9 years later after this came out. That movie was Jurassic Park. Michael Crichton wrote and directed this movie that we are referencing today, which is kind of impossible to believe once you've seen the movie. The movie stars Gene Simmons.
It has to be a different.
It's the same Michael Crichton, baby. It's the same one. I'm telling you. There's only one Michael. There's only one Michael Crichton, and that's him. Michael Crichton, who, of course, from the Andromeda strain, which had been a big thing in the 70s. They said, we believe in you, sir. We're going to give you money and also access to the sexiest man in America, Magnum PI, Tom Selleck. This is at the height of Magnum PI. This is 1984. The show started in 1980. It ran all the way till 88. This is the height of Magnum PI mania. Tom Selleck has agreed to do your movie. Also, we got for you the lead singer of Kiss, Gene Simmons, without the makeup, but he's there. He's going to play the villain of this movie. Like, this is a big deal. You've got a whole built-in audience of middle-aged housewives ready to sit there and just ooh and ah all over Tom Selleck. Plus, you got the people who are super Kiss fans. They're definitely going to come see Gene Simmons in this thing. Here you go, Michael Crichton. What's your movie about? And he says, I have this great idea. What if there's and I'm assuming this is how he pitched it because this is the only way it makes sense in my head. What if there's an alternate timeline, 1984, where robots and robotics have become so commonplace? They're in every household in America. They're being used by corporate America to do things. This is not just like your normal assembly line stuff. This is like your housekeeper is a microwave on top of a stereo system rolling around your house. That kind of thing. It is as though this movie is set in the very near future of 1984, but everything is the same, except for robots are everywhere, but they haven't progressed past the Happy Birthday Polly robot from Rocky 3 or Rocky 4. Like, the idea that we could that we could envision a world in which robots are everywhere and can be used from everything from simple construction of a skyscraper to murder and they haven't gotten past any of it. It's insane.
I think it's really mean that you would say such bad things about the Rocky robot.
I mean, listen, Happy Birthday Polly.
Disparaging.
It's actually that robot is so far beyond the robots in this particular movie.
Beautiful.
Did you know the Sylvester Stallone hated that robot so much that he edited it out of his recut of Rocky 4? It's just not in there. There is no Happy Birthday Polly robot.
No, I did not know that.
Yep.
That's so rude of him.
Okay. So you asked me before we started, how did I come across this? Okay.
Yeah. I need to know what events in your life, I'm assuming drugs, would lead you to find
no.
this
No.
movie. I know how I come across AJ Lee's sister and Freddie Prinze. Okay. I know how I discover that. How on earth did this happen?
My best friend, best man in my wedding. We were. I was in grad school. He was in undergrad, and we lived in a house together. And we did everything together. And one of the things we used to do was we would go to Blockbuster. Yes, that's how old I am. We would go to Blockbuster.
Alex, what's a Blockbuster?
It's like a large warehouse. It's very brightly lit. You walk inside, and they've got VHS tapes all along the walls. You walk up and you say, "I'd like to see this, sir." And they said, "Give you your card." And you had a Blockbuster card. It was a Blockbuster card. And you sat down, and they'd scan it, and they say, "Okay, here's your. You have it back in 2 days, or we'll sick the government on you." Like, it was. It was bad. Anyway, we would go to Blockbuster and walk around the science fiction section and pick a movie that they were like, this is going to be terrible. and then we'd go and we'd get liquor and a pizza, and we'd stay up all night watching really bad science fiction movies. We wrote a couple of them. We decided, well, let's you know what, we are an expert in this. Let's and I'll tell you the story sometime of the one we wrote, and then like 3 months later, a terrible version of it came out, direct to video, which means we could never release ours, and ours was so much better. But anyway, so that was that, and then he lives in LA, and I don't, and I haven't seen him since his wedding in LA in 2014. So during the pandemic, we started a thing where like every Wednesday or whatever it was, every Thursday, whatever it was, we'll have a standing phone date. And so what do we talk about? Because it's really depressing during the pandemic to like talk about like, you know, the world. So like, let's find a thing to talk about. So
or like, what are you doing? Because nobody was doing anything.
You can't do anything, right? So we would pick a movie we each had access to through streaming. And that was our homework, to watch the movie separate of each other and then come back once a week to discuss it, like a two-man book club, but about terrible movies. And one of the movies that I came across while looking for a terrible thing to watch was, hold up, what? Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons in a movie directed by Michael Crichton about robots? The killer robots? Okay, that's my pick. I picked this one. And it's become legendary between the two of us. We talked about it for like 3 hours. It doesn't make any sense. Well, hopefully this one will be less than 3 hours long, but we're already 12 minutes in. We haven't talked about the movie yet.
Sure.
Yeah. Kate, Tom Selleck plays Jack Ramsay. He sure does. He's a police detective in the Runaway division. Here's the deal. Robots are everywhere. They do everything for us. This is not a movie that is interested in talking about the ramifications of that. That every single menial labor job in America is being done by robots. So is there like a universal basic income, or is the homelessness population just literally 70% of America? Because all of the jobs done by regular people are now done by robots. So those people are out of a job. So now what? They will never address that. Nobody will ever ask about it. It's just a thing.
I guess they're all just robot managers, or tried to be, would be my guess.
But here's the thing. The robots are everywhere doing everything for all of us. And because nothing's perfect. We actually have a whole philosophical discussion about this in the movie, which we're not going to go into, but nothing's perfect. So sometimes the robots malfunction, and they malfunction often enough that there is a whole subdivision of the police department that is just in charge of handling robots went crazy calls. And that's where Tom Selleck finds himself working. He has a new partner, Karen Thompson, I believe is her name. She's young and blonde and vivacious. She has no experience with robots, so of course they put her in this division, and of course they gave her they gave her a new partner for Tom Selleck, who's the robot king in the LAPD.
Does have experience in intense eyeshadow, as many women in the 80s did.
Yes. Also, something you notice if you're paying attention at all women police officers in this version of 1984 wear skirts and heels.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you're trying to track down anything, is a really great outfit. Robots, criminals, whatever. Just like heels and a skirt are the most efficient wardrobe that you could possibly have.
Yeah. It's like an alternate 1984 where robots are incredibly advanced. Not really. And also that we're stuck in the social mores of 1958. Like yes. I feel like it's definitely Michael Crichton's perfect world. So anyway, they get a call right away that there's a malfunctioning robot at a cornfield. One of the multiple cornfields they have near Los Angeles County.
And exactly where you would expect robots to be.
And so they're talking about this. Oh, this model. This model. The 1912s. Oh, they're terrible. The 1914s are a little bit better, but the 1912s, they malfunction all the time. You got to get an upgrade. Everybody talks in weird robot speech about like different models of robots. It's like PC gamers talking about their gaming rigs, but all they use is like codes for numbers and stuff. She says they're talking about it. Like, he says, "How big is this thing?" About the size of a hat box. Oh, that's the different one. That's the different one. Oh, the first one is they go into the cornfield. It's a big yellow thing with like little corn stalk cutter downers in its front, yes. And he's just going up and down the things, and he's going crazy, going all which way, going everywhere. And she runs into the cornfield in her skirt and high heels, because that's perfectly what you should do. And she runs up, and this thing, it's I don't know, it's the size of one of those little trucks that like kids ride around in that like go on their own power wheels. It's the size of one of those, but it's made entirely of like steel. And she runs up to it and holds it right up over her head. I'm like, there's no way that thing doesn't weigh at least 300 pounds. So like your prop that you gave the woman to work with is not that heavy, but there's no way practically that robot doesn't weigh that much. And then it starts sparking, so she has to drop it, and it runs away. And they have to go chase it down in the cornfield. This is their first little oopsie daisy. The corn robot went, and so we got to go chase it. I'm like, this is what you need cops for, apparently. Right?
I also love, like, the first people to answer the call are cops, not technicians, not engineers. Like, it's the police department.
Right.
And this scene, cinematically, brilliant. Just like the way that they're diving in the cornfields and sink. Yep. It's just like the most insane.
It is. Also, they take a helicopter out to the cornfield, and they're like talking to each other about stuff. On the way back from having, stopped the thing from malfunctioning, meaning like they shot it or whatever, because they're cops, so that's basically how they handle every problem. So Tom Selleck gets a call from Lois on the headset in the thing, and the girl whose partner, she's a girl, let's be honest, she couldn't be older than 21 years old, and I'm new here.
Not a girl.
Yeah, there's
not yet a woman.
So Karen Thompson is
super creative name, by the way.
Yeah, Karen Thompson. Karen Thompson.
Like, generic white girl, first and last.
Mm-hmm. So she is overhearing a conversation between Tom Selleck and Lois, and assumes that Tom Selleck is married to a woman named Lois.
That's not the case.
Lois is indeed the robot housekeeper for Tom Selleck. And
inspired by the Jetsons, Rosie rolled so that Lois could run.
Yeah, well, Lois couldn't run. She totters back and forth throughout the kitchen. I'm trying to remember exactly in what order everything goes down. I think this is where she goes there. Yeah, she goes to the house and meets the son, Bobby.
Yes,
who is, I'm going to say 11, but written as though he's 6. Very precocious. But anyway,
a very Dominic Mysterio thing. If you watch us on our wrestling content, he's presented like a little boy.
Yeah, he hasn't done hard time yet.
5 years younger.
He hasn't done hard time yet. He will. But it's the same kid who played the lead in the movie Flight of the Navigator, which is one of my favorite 80s science fiction movies, and done well in that it takes place in present day, actual 1986 or whatever, and the technology looks like it's super crazy high technology. I guess because the aliens made that technology. But anyway, it's the same kid, and so I'm like, I just keep watching, going like, you're gonna be in a much better movie in like a year and a half, so don't worry about it.
Kid, don't sweat it. No, this isn't your swan song.
This is not their peak. You're gonna get better.
Imagine being a little kid that gets told he's gonna be in a movie with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons.
With Magnum PI.
And you're probably like, awesome. This is
and Gene Simmons. Oh God. Yeah.
The guy from Kiss? Like that band I'm not supposed to like, but I do. Like in that era of Kiss. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yep.
And then it's this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, all the girls in high school in a few years are gonna be all over me. And then this happened.
No. And so she comes to the house, she meets Lois. Lois is like, so Bobby did all of his homework. He got an A in his math test. I am making macaroni and cheese. But again, it's a microwave on top of a speaker stack rolling around the house on roller skates, the most precarious way possible. But it's got like one arm that just kind of just does this. And at the end, there's a fork and it picks spaghetti up out of a boiling pot. And it's like, hello, would you like some spaghetti? But it's the, hello, I am Lois. So then there's some
I legit at this point in the movie was like, is there like, because you know how some of these movies will have like these BS allegories for society or whatever. I was like, is there supposed to be an allegory here that like people are better than machines?
No. Anyway, well, when Karen Thompson leaves, like, is this a person I should commit to memory? What should I list her as? Officer Thompson or Karen? I have listed her as Officer Karen Thompson. Oh, I am detecting a power surge from Bobby's room. Narc. So of course the cop would have a narc for a housekeeper. So he goes into Bobby's room, and oh no, did we lose? We lost her. We lost Kate. Hold on. 2243. 2243. I'll write that down. We lost Kate. Kate's back. 2243. No. There we go. From 2240, let's call it 2240 to 23 minutes ish. We lost Kate to her internet. 2240 to 23, let's say 2330. All right. 5.
R.I.P.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So he goes into Bobby's room, and Bobby is watching a little mini TV under the sheet. And I'm not sure. I'm honestly, I don't know if this happens before or after the big call. I think it is the big one. It is the big one. This happened. This whole thing inside the house happens afterwards. So they go back to the police station after the cornfield robot. And
I do just have to pause though, because like, what is this technology that's detecting a power surge? What is the advantage of Rosie making her macaroni and cheese when it's like it's not the most efficient use of robotics. And it's also a very unclear technology. Like, I'm detecting a power surge. Like, are you monitoring electricity in the house? It's just a very odd.
Yes, they're monitoring electricity in the house. So after they get the cornfield robot thing, they go back to the police station. Oh, Stan Shaw. Remember the one guy who died in Monster Squad, the black police officer? He's a black police officer in this movie too. He doesn't die though. but he's the one police officer who they never let leave the police station. he's
gotta man the fort.
He's the robotics expert who's there, like checking out all the malfunctionary robots, making sure everything's whatever. So they're there, and then all of a sudden there comes like we got a call. It's a 7512 and or whatever the number was, and all of a sudden
numbers.
He just goes, oh no, and she goes, what's a 7512? That means there's been a fatality involved with this particular robot malfunction. It means the robot has hurt people or whatever. So they go to this house, and when they get there, they get the rundown from everybody. Here is something that I don't know. It's weird. It's an alternate 1984. The freedom of the press needs to be curtailed in this version of 1984 because there's just the press on site in a closed crime scene. Like they're literally live broadcasting to the network with a microphone in between two police talking about the situation. Like that's not how they do that.
It's like symbolic of the way media interferes with our lives. You know what I mean?
You're right. No,
I've never done drugs before, but I'm gonna pretend I was stoned when I watched this, and those are going to be my insights from this point forward.
Sounds good. That sounds great. We'll play a little game. So anyway, they're talking about this thing that went crazy, and so it says that there is a 1-year-old in a crib in the playroom in the back, and there is the mother of that child and her sister, and they're both dead. That the robot killed them. And if you're asking yourself, well, it must be a big robot to murder two women. They straight up say in the script about the size of a hat box. It's 1984, and this woman, Karen Thompson, who says so, is 20. Are we measuring things by the size of hat boxes at this point?
A weird unit of measure. I noticed that as well.
Not the size of a hat box. How big is a hat box? Like how big of a hat is it? Like I feel like that the size of the hat would determine the size of the box in which you keep said hat. But like about the size of a hat box, and he goes, oh, I get it. Like no, you don't. How big is that? How big is the hat? This hat, the one I wear, fits in a much smaller box than, like, let's say, the size of a hat worn by Lacey Evans circa 2018. Like, it's a very different size of hat. Anyway, so it is, but it's a very small robot, and it's very low to the ground. It is like a VCR scooting along and I'm like,
it's basically a Roomba. Like, it's not.
Yeah, yes, a Roomba killed 2 adult women by stabbing them to death with a kitchen knife. And I was like, maybe you got the drop on one of them and like sliced both of her Achilles and she fell to the ground. And then you got a lucky shot in on her jugular. But the second woman, that's on her. I'm sorry, that's on you. If your sister was murdered by a Roomba and you walk in on it, it's on you to get away from the Roomba. You know what I mean?
Or take a blunt object to it. Like it was so small.
Here's what you do. You know what you do to get away from the Roomba? Stand on the couch.
That's it.
You win.
You win,
unless
there's a go-go gadget arm or something, but it's a square-ish Roomba that's just tootling along.
So they're trying to determine how they're going to handle this, right? This thing went crazy. It's got a kitchen knife. There's a baby in there. So they're trying to handle maybe the reason that it hasn't killed the baby is because the baby's in the playpen. I'm like, yeah, because the Roomba, it can't get in the playpen. As per the nature of a Roomba, it can't get in a playpen unless you put it in there.
Correct.
It does not.
In which case, it could keep it so clean.
Roombas cannot climb playpens. It's just right there. It's right there in the instructions when you buy the Roomba. It says cannot climb, play. Yeah. So they're deciding whether or not they're going to go in there. And Tom Selleck is very angry at the press for putting microphones in his face with a big video camera right in his head as he's trying to figure out what to do about this. And he's yelling at them. And the other police guy's like, hey, come on, we can't say that stuff to the press. Whatever. So,
and it's just like, it's like symbolic of the fact that not only does the media interfere with our lives, it puts the younger generation in danger.
It does. It does. Kids are going to see this, don't you know? So then they hear gunshots in there. And like, where did it get a gun? But they can tell by the sound of the gunshots, 357 Magnum. They can tell by the hear it. They have a little robot that listens to gunshots and can tell you what like they have little robots that help the robots do the other robot tasks. And so they so here we go. They decide, well, we can't now. The robot can kill the baby without having to climb into the playpen. So we got to do something now. Meanwhile, the dad has come home from work and he's distraught. It's like he's got a gun. Like, oh my God, he's got a gun. And then he says, oh, he must have gotten into the gun safe that we keep on the floor of the closet because that's the only place that the Roomba could have gotten the gun from. If the Roomba then also knows the combination to the gun safe, it doesn't say that.
It had to open the door to it. Yeah.
Right, but he says, oh my God, he really has gone crazy. Who's gone crazy? And I thought it was like, Michael, our robot. No. He doesn't say who. He says Luther. And then they cut to Gene Simmons looking as evil as possible, like more evil than wearing the devil face paint.
By far.
Walks onto a closed crime scene and nobody says boo. He just sidles up there, hands in his pockets, just like this. It's like and he's always glowering at everything. The paramedics are there, all these other cops. He just walks straight up into a crime scene and just stands there looking. I wonder if that's the guy that might be the villain. I wonder.
No, couldn't be.
So we hear that the woman who's the reporter saying, Officer Jack Ramsay is now putting on his electromagnetic scatter suit and will attempt to confront the robot inside the home. We are sending in our cameraman to document everything live on the air. And so of course, Jack Ramsay's in there, and here comes the cameraman, giant light on his camera, just huge, giant friggin', like he's huge 1984 sized camera that he's using to capture everything. And immediately the robot shoots and kills the cameraman.
Of course. Of course.
And
you can be a pretty basic Roomba to take out that guy.
Right. Yeah. That guy that might made himself a target for a Roomba with a 357 Magnum. So what? Basically, it's like a taser that shoots lasers. It's a laser taser.
Laser taser
is what Magnum PI has, and he shoots it with it, and it disables it. Right. Maybe every home, if you're going to have one of these things these murder Roombas, maybe you should have like a laser taser in the house, like make those available. Listen, if American public is deemed worthy to listen, if you outlaw taser lasers, only outlaws will have taser lasers. So I believe we should arm every household with taser lasers.
Yes.
Just to make sure that they can use the taser lasers on the Roomba robots when they get the gun.
I still am having trouble with the gaps of how did the Roomba get the gun and the knives.
I don't know. Are you keeping the knives on the floor?
On the floor. And we don't see an extension arm or anything in the like. It's a very it's like such an obvious thing that we're not nitpicking when we're like,
right.
how did the Roomba get the gun and the knives? Like that's something that should have been answered and wasn't really.
The guy, the dad, ran away. He wasn't even there when they brought the kid out. He just ran away.
What a shitty dad.
That kid has no next of kin besides the father that ran away. And so they take the Hatbox Roomba murder bot 3000 and they
the
take
Roomba
it
Hatbox 3000.
Yeah. The murder Roomba Hatbox 3000. It is they take it back to the police station and they're checking it out, and it turns out there's a little modification chip in there that's not supposed to be there, and when they try and mess with it, it explodes. But Stan Shaw is very smart, and he knows when it's about to explode, so he knocks Karen Thompson out of the way, and they all both fall down, and the thing explodes.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. Very dramatic. I'm trying to remember how. This is the next day. They go to a regular old, hey, our construction robot went bonkers, boop boop, and they go to one of those calls, and this is this is where they we find out that Jack has vertigo. Jack cannot be on heights at all. So the woman there's like a forewoman, I guess, the forewoman of the thing. She's there. She's talking about it. I'm like, you got a lot of robots working here. Oh, this is nothing. You should see the site downtown. There are no humans working there when we're building that skyscraper. There's like, I don't know, half a dozen people on the ground floor, and then all robots everywhere with those robotic arms moving stuff. Hey, look, this is our problem. We got a stacker up there that's stacking things, but they can't be stacked. It's just dropping 75-pound bags of concrete from like the 18th floor all the way to the ground. And Tom Selleck is standing there not wearing a hard hat going, well, that's a problem. I probably should move, but I'm not gonna, because that would be weird if I did. So, yeah, they're just dropping giant bags of yeah, my God.
Considering how advanced the technology is in this and the electromagnetic, whatever the heck,
yeah,
you would think like a basic hard hat might be something.
Nope. The forewoman is wearing one, but neither of the cops are, I don't believe. If I remember it correctly.
Bad move.
Yeah. So
also R.I.P. the camera guy from the scene before. Like, he doesn't really.
No, they
don't really pay respects to him. Pickups.
Well, this is the thing, is that I remember the scene I described before where they go to the house.
Yes.
And they meet Bobby. That actually happens after the whole thing with the crazy murder Roomba. So we actually hear on the TV broadcast that little Bobby is watching, like something along like our brave cameraman, Steve, whatever his name is, died tragically while trying to, and then he clicks it off. So like at least they were like honoring Steve on the broadcast. That's nice of them. A fund has been set up to donate to his family's robot because because you got
robot GoFundMe.
Anyway,
the phone call happens after. It does happen after. Okay.
Yeah. So they do that, and then they go back to the crime scene because he wants to figure out what happened, and they have like the little thing where like they have like the little strings that show you where the bullets all went, and of course they all have a trajectory of from the floor up because it was a damn Roomba. And there's of course they have basically their version of like the Ring doorbell camera,
yes,
which did not exist at all in any form in 1984, but fully exists in this alternate.
This movie inspired generations of technology.
Yes, it did.
Not only do we have the door, like ring bell situation now, but I would think microwaves on top of a speaker cab is not far off. Like I think we as a society are pretty close, and it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's one of those things. It's an allegory for the human condition. So they're looking through this camera, and people who are like talking to the guy, they find out the guy works as an engineer for a software company or something, one of those types of deals. Robotics. He works in robotics. I feel like in this alternate 1984, the one field you should go into, because they're going to need more of you, is robotics. Like,
so that was my question at this point in the movie: isn't every human now in robotics if they have a job?
They have to, because the other thing is that that we get we get like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about that project, Dave, whatever. So I'll see you at work. And like those people who are talking with some Girl Scout selling cookies or whatever. And then we get Gene Simmons. Hello, this is Acme Robot Repair. I'm here to service your whatever your Hatbox 3000. And and he's the most evil man in the world looking into this camera.
Hatbox 3000 is amazing. The Hatbox 3000 is that model. The Murder Hatbox Roomba 3000, or I guess it's the 4000, is like it's the elite.
It's the
made
upgrade. It's the upgrade.
By Dirt Devil.
You got to make sure you read the terms of service, because if you just click yes and then click OK, then it gives them the license to download the murder software. And you just don't want that. You don't want that.
I didn't realize Dyson was such a shady company, but here we are.
True. So hold on, go back. That part of it was erased, like part of the little thing, the rest of it. But we do hear Acme Robot Repair, and I'm like, this is the name you came for your fake company that you could sneak into yourself, not some guy you paid, criminal mastermind, but you yourself putting yourself on the video camera so that you could come in, put the chip in the robot, and then erase not all of your file of you talking. Like you didn't like wear a fake mustache or anything, just but he's also Acme Robot Repair. Like the name of the company that makes the shit that blows up Wile E. Coyote while he's after the Roadrunner.
Yeah, that was in my notes.
That was the name of your fake robot repair company.
My notes just have Looney Tunes with a question mark after
Acme Robot Repair. So they're trying to find this missing, wayward guy. We also see Luther working, like I guess like legit working at this science place. So he's himself as an engineer who was just decided to turn to the dark side. He's not like a criminal who hired some engineers to do a project for him. He's actually a scientist himself, and he's jerry-rigged all this stuff himself. But he's there, and he's talking to some guy, and he's like, "Hey, I really would like my share of the money now, Mr. Luther, because I'm the guy you're going to kill in this scene. So I need to make you to piss you off enough that you won't want to kill me." This is sure.
That was a little telegraphed, admittedly, when he said, "I'm the guy you're going to kill in the scene."
I mean, the way they had him play the part, it was pretty obvious. But, but like, Mr. Luther, I really would like to demand my share of the money now, sir. I am withholding the templates until you pay me, sir. My wife told me I have to get the money now, sir. Like he's definitely that character. So anyway, there are templates to make more of these chips so they can put these chips in everything. And I don't know, take over the world. I don't know what the deal is, why they need so many chips. You need like 6 put in the right robots, and then you can, commit murder for hire. I don't know what the grand plan of Luther was. I know he wanted to sell the chips to like terrorist organizations and the mob, but like once everybody's got the chip, no longer is there any like, you want these things to be to have it's supply and demand.
Right.
If you have fewer of these chips, they're worth more. If you mass produce these things, which is what he wants to do, I need the templates so I can make more of them. But if you have 1 million of them, they're worth $1 a piece. You got to make sure you only have like 3 of them, and then and you have the technology to make more, but you don't have to do it now until you get the demand for a new one. See, I don't know why I'm explaining this to criminal mastermind Luther, but I am.
I think ultimately his goal was to rock and roll all night and party every day.
That's
so
true.
there is that to consider.
It's true.
But it is a quality over quantity thing. Shouldn't it be like we have 4 of them and they're unhackable and blah 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 versus like look at all the chips we got.
Right. But anyway, he's like,
and that guy's such a weenie. Like, I don't know, if you're capable of making a murder robot, maybe consider not being the only person in the room with Gene Simmons.
Right. So anyway, he's like, so this is all. They are in the men's locker room of this science building, which I didn't know there was one of those things, but they do. They have a men's locker room. There is one door in and out, right? Okay. Gene Simmons is in there with him, and they're talking about, oh, of course I have the money for you right here. And then this guy, without like, he sees somebody walking past the door in one of those little viewfinder hole windows. And, he wasn't like, okay, I think the coast is clear. He turns around and Gene Simmons is just gone, vanished. Did he jump up into the air ducts? Where did he go? There was only one door in the entire place, and you were standing by it. But then he turns around and he sees a briefcase. He opens it up, and there's a bunch of money, except for, the old trick, $100 bill on top. The rest of the pack, all just like copier paper. Yeah, see, you got to watch out for that one. So he's very angry. And then the first taste that we get of the spider robots. I don't even know how to describe these things fully.
It's the greatest movie of all time from this point forward, I would say. Oscars.
Oh my! There's a towel on the bench, and it starts shaking a little bit, and from under the towel crawls. It's a little silverish rectangle with some antennas on it and 6 legs. So they're called spider robots, but they don't have 8 legs; they have 6. So really, they're insects. I mean, come on, Gene Simmons. At least be accurate with your murder things.
It's got a couple more legs on it.
You just put a couple more legs on it. It's fine. But it's the legs don't. It doesn't actually move. You can almost see the PA in the back with a fishing line, kind of gently tugging it toward the camera. Like it doesn't actually move of its own volition. These are the worst looking. Like, I was a kid in 1984. I mean, certainly by like 1988, my brother and I had remote control cars. We were zooming all over the place. The best that a Hollywood movie starring Magnum PI can do is like a little piece of metal with some weird jointed legs on it that jigger back and forth, but don't actually propel it forward. That's the best you got. Like it looks like something that like if there was like a robotics club for 3rd graders, this would win 2nd place in their science fair. Like it's not even 1st place.
That's what was amazing about this movie is it's supposed to be alternate timeline futuristic-y, but it feels like they didn't even nail down present day technology, never mind future technology. Like they really were like, this is going to be so advanced. And it was like, you didn't even nail down the technology in an inventive way that you had available to you just in the 80s. When I say the animatronic trolls from Ernest Scared Stupid lap this.
Oh my God.
Lap this. I mean, it's just...
I don't know how else to describe. Like it's so bad. Like they don't even function as the way it's like they gave the contract to a robotics firm who works with Hollywood, and they forgot about it until the night before. The robotics firm, and this is what they gave them. And they were like, well, we have to shoot all these scenes today because tomorrow Tom Selleck has to go back to Hawaii to start shooting season 5 of Magnum PI.
To have a real career. Right.
Like, honestly, that the only thing that would make sense is that they were shooting this on, and I know that's the case because in the 80s, if you were contracted to do a TV show, the only time you had to do a movie was in that summer break. So they only had so many weeks to shoot this thing, and then Tom Selleck had to be back otherwise CBS would sue the company making the movie. Like, so you had to do it. So we don't have time to get these robots right.
I wish they did sue the company making this movie.
You don't have the time to get the robots right. So this must be what they had. Anyway, the way that this robot kills him is it jumps on his face. I mean, it doesn't. Like, you can tell he picks it up and puts it on his face, but it's supposed to look like it jumps on his face, and then a little thing comes out the nose of it, like a little injector thing, and it gets him right up here under the eye, and then it explodes. Like, it lights on fire.
It's basically Murderous.
Yeah, he injects him with Murderous that explodes. So it's also a what do you call it? A kamikaze type situation where it knows it's a suicide mission going in. Said goodbye to its little baby robot spiders at home and said, "Daddy's got to go. He's not going to be back. But in the service of great Gene Simmons, we must perform our duties." I don't believe anybody got a call about this murder. Maybe they did. I'm not really sure. I know they investigate the firm later.
I don't think the Runaway department did.
Yeah. So, which is odd because it would seem like, hey, a robot jumped on a dude's face and exploded. Should probably call the Runaway department. Anyway.
Especially when it's from a robotics company that it was one of their employees that died, feels like.
So the guy goes, so they track down whatever dad the dad run away. They track down the runaway dad, and he's staying at the seedy motel, and so I don't know how they tracked him down, but they just did. They're like, "Hey, is he in there?" They say to some random guy standing by a coffee cart, "Yeah, he's in there." Maybe like they had a private eye who tracked him down for them, which is weird. Maybe they had a Magnum private eye. I'm not really sure, but they go in there and Gene Simmons walks up to the same coffee cart right after they're there and just says, "Coffee, black," and is handed a cup of coffee and immediately starts drinking it. He didn't pay for the coffee. I don't know. Like, it was just coffee, black. Yum. And he just drank the coffee.
Handed right to him.
Yep. Right to it. Very odd. I'm unsure how does commerce work in this 1984? Is like all coffee free if you ask for it? So they go up there, and this guy has set an alarm up with like cables and like cords to the door of his hotel room. So when Tom Selleck knocks on it, like an alarm goes off or whatever, and then he opens up the door, and the guy starts shooting at him. Like, "Hey, I'm a police," and so like, "You're coming with me." They're wanted for questioning. "Come on, we're going here. You can't take me out there. I'm a sitting duck out there. They're going to kill me." So he's like, "Come on, we're going." And he takes him out to the cop car. And the cop car door is open, right? And he's got one foot in the car and looks over and sees Gene Simmons standing at the same coffee cart 40 yards away. And he pulls out of his inside coat pocket the most student film ass wannabe Star Wars blaster pistol I've ever seen. It was like, "Hey, my cousin's got a soldering gun. He can totally make the movies, the weapons for our," like, it's just.
It's crazy how ill-efforted the technology and the guns are when they're the focal point of the film.
Right.
Like, this is what it's about, and they look terrible.
Right. So the guy sees that and runs away. Rather than diving into the cop car and saying, "Let's get out of here," he runs basically past Gene Simmons down an alleyway. And Tom Selleck runs after him and eventually catches up with him and lightly pushes him on the back of the shoulder, and he careens into the garbage. It was a really bad stunt. And so he's like, "What are you doing? Come on, we got to go." And Gene Simmons then appears at the end of the alleyway, and he's got his student film ass Star Wars gun, and he shoots it, and a bullet about yay big comes out of it and starts like chasing them, and then you see from the perspective of the bullet, and it's chasing Tom Selleck, who is behind the other guy. At one point, though, it passes Tom Selleck and goes after him and finally shoots and hits the guy in the back. But I do not have the capability to do this. I'm not the kind of person. I always have these great ideas for joke things to add to our show, and I'm really, really bad at all things technological and that kind of stuff. But what I needed to do was to clip the part where it's just them running from the camera on top of the bullet, and then just do the Benny Hill music to it. That's basically what it is. It looks like that because they're all moving like this, which really sped up in a really weird way. And so Gene Simmons is like at the end of the alley and shoots this bullet, and nobody thinks like, "Hey, maybe we should go after that guy." Because Karen Thompson's right there, driving around the cruiser with her high heels and her skirt. At one point,
in her skirt, yeah, I was gonna say she gets out of the cruiser, adopts a spread-legged stance, pulls out the gun. I gotcha. Hey, turn around, says she, because the Dave is runaway dad is running toward her, and then she runs away. She won't shoot him because she's no, of course.
So yeah, so they try and like, okay, so it was an explosive, heat-seeking bullet, and they have one that they realize that the way that we don't know why it went after him and not you, and then they were like, I don't know, hey, let's have a cigarette while we think about this. We're inside. It's 1984. Let's have a cigarette. And they flick the lighter, and the thing goes beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh my God, it's a heat-seeking bullet. Like, and then they go, yeah, but why did? Well, every body has a different heat signature, and it was able to determine that it was runaway dad's heat signature and not your heat signature, and that's why it didn't shoot you. And I was like, but how does the bullet know that while it's still in the gun? Like, you look for this particular heat signature. So you have to get close enough, presumably with a different robot. You have to get close enough to your victim to make sure that you can map the heat signature, then upload that into the bullet in your gun, and then shoot it at him. If you get that close to the dude, just shoot him with a regular bullet then. Why? Like, I mean... Okay. Anyway,
the advancement too of the heat signature gun, when you didn't go out of the way to explain how a Roomba got a knife and a gun, like, wouldn't even explain an extension arm or anything beyond that, is incredible to me. Like, it's they go so deep in on something that barely makes any sense, and then the most basic fundamental things in the world are just so... It feels like it's a parody when you're watching it, and it's not. Right. It's a sincere effort, but it is a joke.
Yeah. So
they just didn't know they were telling it.
Right. They go to that robotics place, and they're trying to find, what's going on, who this could be. They do because Karen Thompson saw the guy but didn't do anything about Gene Simmons. Just saw him perfect enough to do the what's the composite sketch, which is done futuristically by this woman who's holding a giant iPad and going So how big were his nostrils again? Like she's pointing at stuff. She's also wearing a skirt because she's a lady. Lady
of course.
This
used to be a proper country in 1984, Alex. So, and I just love that. Like,
hold on. Back when lady cops were men. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I had to.
But like to your point earlier, no one thinks, and at this point in the movie, it was glaring to me. Like, you don't think the guy that showed up unannounced and just stood there at the crime scene earlier might have something to do with this brilliant cops? You don't think Jane Simmons, who was just looming in a crime scene for no reason, I don't know, might be related to what was going on here? Not a single one of you crackerjack cops thought of this?
Yep. Great. So good.
So
stupid. So stupid. So they go to this place, and it's just like two guys talking shop with Detective Jack Ramsay and Asian security guard talking about the upgrades they've made, the modifications they made to the different. Oh no, you can't use the 7214s. They're not good anymore. They're outdated. You got to get the 7318s.
It is like dads talking about advanced models of lawnmowers. It is just.
It really, really is. So I forget because I think I might have just like had doing something else around the house, and I came back in and I didn't want to rewind. They wind up like I know they wind up realizing that Kirstie Alley, who is an administrative assistant,
rest in peace.
Is being held hostage by a copier robot. I don't know what an office robot. Like he's got a he can shoot lasers. I don't know why the office robot needs to be able to shoot lasers. That feels like overkill, almost literally.
Maybe just out of defense, like in case some other laser shooting robot came in, they'd have something to fire back with.
I think that's possible. It's possible.
I do love that it was like, you know what?
In case they fired their previous office robot who came back disgruntled with a laser cannon. You need security from your new laser robot. Your new office robot.
Alternative 1984's version of going postal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This also is 3 years prior to her beginning on Cheers. So
shout out to the casting director of Cheers who saw her in this and this alone and was like,
a perfect replacement for Shelley Long.
Perfect.
This is her. But so she's they find out that she is not only, I guess, after he doesn't have his electromagnetic scatter suit on him, so he's just going to go in there blind and take it by himself. Mm-hmm. And he's like throws something at it to confuse it, and then smashes it with a stapler. I don't know what the hell it was. It was some big implement from the office, and smashed it. And the security guard's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to file a report." Like it was trying to kill me and her, so I did it. Whatever.
Right.
Talk to the city about it. So anyway, I guess they find out that not only is she the executive assistant to Charles Luther. You're right. Yes, because the regional manager, of course, is Charles Luther. He's basically the Pokemon evolved version of Michael Scarn.
Oh my God, this has to be what Threat Level Midnight was based off of in some way.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway, so this Threat Level Midnight. Anyway, not only is she his assistant, but she's also his assistant in bed. It's his girlfriend. And so they're trying to get her to tell him. Right. Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get her to tell them where he is, you know? And finally she's like, she tells, and he's like, "Oh no, but if I tell you, then he's going to kill me." "Oh, well, whatever. I'll tell you anyway." he's downtown at this big hotel, and he's doing some deal with bad guys. And so they go and they're gonna like take him out, and they bring like 4 cops. Oh, I should mention also the chief is played by G.D. Spradlin, who was also the police chief in Police Academy. And what other movie did we watch that he was the same character in? We watched a movie with this guy. No, not G.D. Spradlin. G.W. Bailey is the name of the actor.
He was in a couple, wasn't he?
He's in a couple movies that we've done already. He was very ubiquitous at the time, but he was the top cop everyone was trying to play pranks on for the entirety of the Police Academy series. Was this guy? He only ever played one character, and he's very good in this too. But he's anyway,
which is so like he played it on both sides of the coin, which is kind of fun, like in a serious and a silly way.
Yeah, but anyway, this is done entirely without his authorization. He becomes very angry when this little things happen. So Tom Selleck is able to sneak into the adjoining hotel room where one of the hookers is taking a shower, but doesn't know that he's in there until she turns and sees him there. It's like, shh, get out of here. And so she does. She runs away. And then he tries to. They try to, I don't know, blow the doors open on the other room, and he tries to sneak in. And so they got him all cornered with just Karen Thompson. There's a bunch of cops out in the hallway, like at least 3, because 2 of them are killed later and one of them is wounded. But they don't come into the hotel room. Just Karen Thompson comes through the front door of the hotel room, and then Tom Selleck comes to the side door, right? And all these mob guys are like, guess you got me. But Gene Simmons.
That's just like not that far off from what happened.
Yeah. All right, Kappa, I'll go quietly. But Gene Simmons looks up at a Roomba on the ceiling. That's basically what it looks like, a smoke detector for a second, and then
it's a ceiling Roomba.
He does this. He does this. I don't know if he like blinks at it and works code, but he blinks at it several times, and it like detaches itself from the ceiling, floats down, and emits smoke everywhere. Okay, which really confuses like 2 seasoned police officers. And then if I'm not mistaken, Gene Simmons takes out his big student film ass gun and shoots regular bullets at the 2 mobsters, I guess, so they can't talk and tell everybody. Isn't it him, or is it Tom Selleck? I thought he did it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right that it was him, but I did not put together that it was
like
regular bullets out of the same gun.
I mean, it is, right? Like, because they don't explode like everybody else who hits one. Like, there's a shower of sparks when they're hit by one of those bullets. Anyway. Maybe he's shooting the same bullets and they're set to stun. I don't know what's going on. But he shoots those things. He takes his hooker girlfriend hostage, and he shoots Karen Thompson with one of these guns. And I guess they're saying that it hit her in the forearm, right? Because she covers up and hits her in the forearm and gets lodged in there. And he shoots a couple more times at Tom Selleck, and then goes out in the hallway with the girl as the hostage. There's a couple. This is actually why you want one of these little bullets that can travel around corners, because as he's walking down the hallway, cop steps out from around the corner and goes, "Freeze!" and shoots a couple times, but misses because he sucks. And then he dives back around the corner as Gene Simmons shoots, and the bullet goes zoop, zoop, and goes and kills him around the corner, which must have been very surprising for that cop, because like he doesn't know that they have like cops bullets that can go 90 degrees, you know. And
just hilarious how this just ends up being a fight scene where the robots don't really come into play that much at this point. Like,
no.
It's just a combat scene, and the robots are almost inconsequential, other than the fact that it kickstarted it. But like, right. I was like, so now we have this whole scene where the robots aren't even really involved.
Right. So Tom Selleck runs after him after this guy's shot like 3 other cops, and he goes up the stairs and he goes up to the roof, and immediately he's like, "Oh, vertigo." And Luther has very helpfully left his hooker girlfriend on the roof, just sitting there, didn't kill her or anything. And I thought there was going to be like a whole thing more about like, what do you know? But they asked her a couple questions and that's it. So it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was weird. But anyway, Tom Selleck can't follow him across the rooftops because vertigo. So Luther gets away. But then there's a whole scene where G.W. Bailey, the chief, is there. He's very angry at Tom Selleck for setting this whole thing up himself without a warrant. None of this stuff. No authorization. You got to run it by me first. I'm the angry police captain stereotype character. You got to run it by me first. Every movie every movie which had a cop hero in the 80s, that cop hero had a boss who was angry about everything. All of them.
And it was often this exact actor.
Yes. It's true. So there's a whole thing where like the press is right there as they're arguing about what to do. Like this guy, the EMT is like setting her arm up really nicely. She's basically in a hotel bed. In this, they got an IV drip and everything's like, that's okay, good. We're gonna take her to the hospital now. And Tom's like, you can't move her. Well, we got to take her to the hospital. We got to take the bullet out. That's not a bullet. That's an exploded shell. That's an unexploded shell fragment. That's what he says. And the paramedic looks back at her and goes, "Oh my God, you're right." How would you be able to verify the thing that he just said by looking at her from 10 feet away? He says, "Oh my God, you're right."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
and like not his expertise, clearly, like not the doctor's expertise,
right?
Or EMTs. Yeah.
Right. He says, I'm going to take the thing out of her. And I think like G.W. Bailey's like, we don't have insurance for that or something. Like, you can't do that. We're going to use this robot. And the robot is like, it's on one of those, like a TV cart from grade school. And they're rolling it in and it's got this big, weird honking robot arm. And it's like there's no way you can perform, like, at least get something that looks like it might perform delicate surgery. You got
precision surgery.
It looks like the same robot that was dropping 75 pounds of bags of concrete off the skyscraper earlier.
It's and kind of like the one that was making macaroni and cheese. Like
it does. Honestly, they're the same.
Don't you think surgery would be like one of the first places you would try and have robot advancements?
You would think.
You
would think. But instead, he says, "I'm going to do this," right? And she is like, no one has ever been more in love than she is with him in this moment. It is very like, yeah. She might be in shock, but she's like, yeah, she's totally in love with Tom Selleck. She's like
Bugs Bunny, hard eyes, all of the sudden.
Yes.
He's taking shrapnel out of her so that something exploding could happen later. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, there you go. So he's able to perform the surgery, like, and it's
surgeon.
Yes. The thing of it is that like you never see his hands. They never show a shot of his hands using anything. They show him sitting next to her, and they show her being in pain and him going, but they never show what's happening, like, at all. So they show they show shots of the X-ray of the fragment still in there, but they don't ever show like the actual active thing of taking the bullet. I don't know why, but
it's just like a symbol for like how sometimes the things that hurt us most and are going to be the most lethal, you can't even like fully look at, you know.
Right. The things that hurt us are the things that help us. Anyway, so he's able to take it out, and he flings it behind him, and it explodes the entire hotel bar. There's a bar in that hotel room, and it just goes kaboosh, all the wine glasses gone. So it's a good thing he got it out of her arm, I guess.
Yeah, would have been bad.
Smash cut to her arm's in a sling. They're at the police station, and he says, would you like to go out for dinner? Like right now. Like she was just shot.
She was just shot with an exploding.
Mm-hmm. And I just took that out of you, right? And he explains that he does this with all of his partners to talk to them, about regulations of the industry, bog standard stuff, right? And she is alternately disappointed and furious at him for it being like a regular thing that he does with other people and not like a date.
It's not a date. I fell in love with you 20 minutes ago when you were when you were performing surgery on my arm. I'm so mad.
This is what I wrote. This is what her eyes were saying as he was explaining that it's the thing he does with all of his partners. She's saying, "Oh no, I'm so disappointed you didn't take advantage of a highly emotional situation to have sex with me, thereby ruining any chance of a professional relationship. Now I'm going to run away in a huff." Like, if he did this, I hope he could be written up. Like, hey.
Yeah. This is
a very highly emotional situation. I'd like to totally have sex with you.
Yeah, that would be manipulative and abusive.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that with your partners. I hope he doesn't do that with all of his partners, because that would be bad.
That'd be really bad.
So by the way, Kirstie Alley is still there, and they're gonna put a bug somewhere on her, a bug that works for them as opposed to the bugs working for Luther. So they have to make sure that she's clear of bugs. And the way they do that is have everybody stand in this bug detecting machine, and,
as it was,
yeah. Right. So there's, she gets in the thing. There's a bug on your blouse. Take off your blouse so I can take that bug off you. And she takes the blouse off. And then she immediately just reaches up onto the lapel of the thing and takes the bug off and gives it to Tom Selleck. You could have just done that while she was still wearing the blouse,
Right, but that wouldn't have been sex.
They scan her again. On the little inside of her bra cup, there's another bug. Wouldn't you know it? So she has to turn around and take off her bra to give that to the lady cop, but you could have just reached up and taken. You know why I know you can do that? Because there was a third bug on the waistband of her skirt, and she didn't have to take that off. She just walked up and took the bug off the waistband of her skirt, and she didn't have to take any of her clothes off, but you made her do that because we had to have a very vital piece of information, which is that she's got horrible whip marks all over her back, which I guess implies, though with no evidence whatsoever, but implies that Luther has been beating her with a whip because she's in a sexual relationship with him. Or, I don't know, an extension cord, I don't know what. But it's never addressed by the other characters in the scene with her. It is never brought up again. And, like, were you worried we didn't think this guy was enough of an asshole that you had to show us that she was... Or were you trying to show us that she's, like, in an abusive relationship? I don't know why any of that was necessary. Every time I think of this scene, I'm like, there's no need at all to show us those, especially if no one's going to address it.
That was the weird part. It felt like there was a supplementary scene here that got cut out or something of just like
Tom Selleck and Karen Thompson notice the whip marks and look at each other and then don't say anything. And it's
they're kind of like, holy crap. Yeah.
But like, I mean, not that I would believe this. She could have like fallen out of a window into some really thick blackberry bushes. You know what I mean?
Like it's a very sexual relationship. It could be BDSM. We don't know.
We have no idea. But I think they're trying to implicate something. I don't know. they put her in a car with Tom Selleck and a robot driver. The robot driver is just a mannequin wearing a police outfit. I don't know why the robot couldn't it just be a driverless car? Couldn't the car itself be a robot?
Self-driving car, yeah.
Like, do you need does the mannequin push down on the gas pedal and the brake?
And like to clarify, are there human-looking robots too? Because so far we've seen insects, we've seen a Roomba, and we've seen ones that look like they're on some sort of bar cart. Mm-hmm. And now there's one that's human looking or mannequin looking. Like it's to say it's all over the place is an understatement. Right. Why, if you wanted to have a murderous robot, wouldn't you use the one that looked like a human? It had human dexterity. I
don't know. By the way, these robots do not have these mannequin robots don't actually move. They're just sitting there. They're like crash test.
Yeah, they are kind of just pinned there. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I don't know why we have this. But anyway, so they're in the back seat of this one vehicle driven by a mannequin. Karen Thompson is driving a different, and they're driving on the freeway. And two hitmen who we've never seen before and will never see again are driving a different car. And this different car has a hole in the floorboard. Okay. And these hitmen drop Roombas, very fast Roombas, that are attached to bombs out the bottom of the car, and they are going after the car that has Kirstie Alley in it, right? Because they want to blow it up before she can. She's also carrying some of the little chips and also some the templates or whatever. That's the thing that they're coming after. They want to blow up the templates. They want to blow up the templates, even though he wants the templates. So, like, if I can't have them, no one can. I'm not really sure. But
yeah, I kind of read it as like, if they're not in his hands, I definitely don't want it in the good guy's hands. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway.
Howdy, James Simmons.
Mm-hmm. But these hitmen are just dropping Roombas, like apparently an unlimited supply of Roombas that are all rigged to blow after going after Kirstie Alley out the bottom of their floorboard of their vehicle. Some are apparently coming from the front of the Tom Selleck vehicle, and some are coming from the backs, which means there have to be two hitman cars. Otherwise, that doesn't make any sense. But again, never mentioned before. We've never seen them before. We will never hear about them or see them again after this scene. And out the top of the vehicle that is being driven by Officer Karen Thompson, there is a laser cannon that comes out the back and is able to lock on and shoot lasers at the little Roombas that are, and she's able to control this while driving her own vehicle. And I don't know if this is a very elaborate defense system against a very specific threat that, to me, suggests that in this scenario happens often enough that you've had to come up with a defense system to counter it. Hitmen riding around with floorless vehicles to drop Roombas out of to take out police cruisers must be a thing that happens all the time in LA, which again suggests maybe we should stop with all the robotics stuff. Because if this happens so often that you got to install laser cannons on the top of certain police cruisers, this seems like a problem. But
or is it like a nuclear defense thing where you just knew this was going to happen?
Right. Maybe. Maybe. But she's able to blow up all the things with lasers before they can get to it. But then there are like 6 at a time. Like, I'm seeing at least half a dozen signatures coming toward your thing. All right, well, we got to get out of this car then. Right? Oh, wait. Then he finally tells her to, like, empty her purse. So she has the templates in a little microfilm or whatever, I don't know. And throw your purse out of the vehicle, and then a couple of them explode her purse. A couple of them go right to her purse and explode it. So maybe there was a homing signal on her purse, but then a bunch of them are coming after the car. So they have to open the rear door of the car they are in and traverse from one speeding police car into another. And Kirstie Alley is able to do this. I don't know how, but she's a police officer. She doesn't have a lot of training in this area, but she does it. And then they're in the regular car and they veer off away, and all the bombs explode the mannequin cop car. Poor mannequin cop, only 2 days to retirement. Isn't that always the way? So then they go out. They're gonna draw out Luther, because I guess he calls them or something. I don't know. Meet me in this place or whatever. And she, a big outdoor restaurant type of thing, right? There is a casually racist sushi stand, a robot sushi stand, where it's a sushi chef with a neon big knife that goes up and down like this. You know how the neon lights do that. And so, hello, you want sushi? And it's like, why does the robot sushi? It's unmanned. It's just a stand here with a little cart, and it's all closed off. And there's a neon sushi chef, and he goes, "Hello, you want sushi?" And I don't know why. Why does he have to talk like that? That's so odd. It's like, yeah, give me a couple of California rolls and a whatever. And okay, come right up. And like, why did you make him talk like that? And then it just drops out some. Like, it prepares the sushi inside, the robot does, and then it gives them. They got sushi now. I don't know. And again, entirely, it has nothing to do with any of the plot. There's no reason why it's there, because immediately Luther goes, "Hello." He's talking to him like, "Hello." It's like, it's on his earpiece, like, "Luther, where are you?" Like, "I'm here. I'm having a little date with your partner. She was nice enough to give me access to her earpiece." So they've been at this restaurant. Again, the plan for how they were going to handle this was never explained to us. We just see Kirstie Alley and Tom Selleck, who you absolutely believe at this point Tom Selleck is going to wind up with Kirstie Alley. At this moment, you believe he's going to wind up, because he already rebuffed Karen Thompson. He's going to wind up with Kirstie Alley. She's the gangster's mole who winds up with the cop. It's an age-old story. It's always done. And so they're having an argument about why she needs to leave Luther, right? And there's no reason for the sushi thing to even be there. And all of a sudden, it's like, "Hello, I'm here." So he was able to infiltrate this meeting and kidnap, basically, hold hostage the partner, a cop, in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It was bad. So how about this? Go sit down, have your sushi. We're going to talk about this. And like, all right, you send her over with a microfilm, and then I'll send over your partner. Now we're going to do this at the same time, says Mike and P.I. All right, on the count of 3. And they both walk toward each other, right? But I don't know why Karen Thompson gets held up by this wall of people in this restaurant, like a couple of waiters. I'm sure they're singing "Happy, happy, 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 happy anniversary, happy, 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 happy anniversary" to some couple. And then we get Kirstie Alley makes it all the way to him, right? And she plants a big kiss on him. She hands him the microfilm or whatever, and then he switches out a switchblade and goes and stabs her in the base of the spine, right at the bottom of her skull, while she's kissing him on the cheek. He's like, "Are you stupid, Ramsay? This isn't all of the templates. How would she just handed them to you? How would?" Okay. Anyway, so he shoots a couple of times with his student film ass Star Wars gun, and it hits a couple of tables but doesn't explode them. And then he runs away. and we can't get after him. But they put a bug in the template microfilm thing that she gave him. So this is the bug. So they found the bug. They traced the bug to a men's room. And they were gonna we're gonna go in there and we're gonna find him. And Ramsay just shows up by himself in street clothes with a shotgun, and he's gonna go in there and take him out in the men's room. And they go in there and they kick down all the doors, and in one of the men's room, stuck into the toilet paper roll, is the bug. And he's like, all right, well, okay. He gave us the slip. I'm angry. I'm going to go back to the, hey, you lady cop who was the technical expert who did the composite sketch. Come on over here with your skirt and your high heels. Why don't you just, do the procedures and do some things, see if he left any fingerprints. I don't know what's going on. You do this thing. Hey, and you watch the door while she does it. I'm going to leave and go away. And so she's like doing her little scanny thing, right? And out of the maintenance closet wriggles a little spider robot. And the spider robot jumps up on her face and then attacks her. And then the other cop who was watching the door runs over. And then somehow that same spider robot attacks him. And they both light on fire. And they're both dead. And, oh, that dirty Luther with his spider robots. Tom Selleck's so angry. But yeah, I don't understand why the only other lady cop on the force had to get it too. But yeah, those spider robots, man.
Well, she wore pants once, so yeah. She had it coming.
She wore pants to work once and was immediately sent home to change.
Yeah, of course. It's so weird how many times in this movie, considering all the quote unquote robot technology, like we have face-to-face interactions, like, and just are using regular guns or whatever. Like, there's just no delineation between like what technological advancements do to protect you versus just create kind of like an obstacle or try to enhance delivery of technology that's already there. It's just so weird how many times we get like, it feels like they go out of the way to include robots in the movie, but at the same time, that's what the whole movie's about. Like, it's very, very odd. Very, very odd.
Very true. While Tom Selleck is out doing this, Gene Simmons, wanted for murder of multiple police officers, not to mention all of his other crimes, right, waltzes into the police station because he's wearing a police uniform. Nobody does nothing. Listen, I don't know how it was in 1984. I don't know how they operate in alternate 1984. But every police officer would have memorized this guy's face. Every one of them, because he's killed 3 of their own. This is the longest a cop killer has remained on the streets and or alive in the history of police being killed. And nobody even he doesn't wear a fake mustache or a hat or glasses.
No.
Or nothing. He just
not even face paint, and he's Gene freaking Simmons.
Thank you. Nothing. Doesn't even make any attempt to disguise his identity, but he's wearing a police uniform, so he's fine.
Nobody checks a badge. Nobody.
He pulls out of his police officer's pocket a skewer with an eyeball on it. I'm assuming this eyeball is glass or something, because he holds it up to a retina scanner and it says Jack Ramsay. Earlier, we saw Jack Ramsay get his retina imprinted. So he created a file so that he could look at other things at the robotics place. Presumably that's how Luther was able to gain access to his retina file, so that he could map that retina onto a glass eye and then use that glass eye to access the retina drive. It feels like a lot to be able to have to get into whatever. So we see him do that, and then we see Jack Ramsay get here. And and they realize, I guess, that he's been there. They talk to him on the phone or something. He calls the station. They see him on the closed circuit TV or whatever, and then they realize he's been at Ramsay's station. He walks over and they see Ramsay has a police file. His own police file is open to, and it contains the school picture of Bobby. And so they rush over to Tom Selleck's house, and they find Lois toppled over in the kitchen, circuits all pulled out of her or whatever, right? And and they're trying to like revive her or whatever, and Tom Selleck could not care less.
No,
like he obviously has been very like he's treating. He says Lois is a member of the family, and it's honestly, it's like somebody knocked over his microwave.
100%.
He couldn't give a damn at all. Now Bobby is missing, and they're trying to find out like where he went or whatever. And they finally are able to like reboot enough of her circuits so that she can tell him what happened. A very unpleasant man came in, and he took Bobby with him. And so, but here's what I mean. Listen, I don't mean to like armchair quarterback your supervillainy here, Gene Simmons. But what you do is you put one of your murder chips inside Lois. And you have
got like a million of them.
You got a million of them. And honestly, that would make for a much more poignant scene if Tom Selleck has to kill Lois because otherwise she's going to kill him. And it would be really cool if like Lois, because she's a way more advanced version than the Hatbox 3000. If she's like, Sergeant Ramsay, I do not wish to do this. My circuits are making me attack you. I am very sorry. Dr. Luther came in. He took Bobby to, and like she's trying to avoid like her involuntary attacks long enough for the brain inside her to tell him what happened. Like, and then I'm so sorry. I love you. Like there could be like some really good stuff there. Or he could have actually cared about her, and knowing he had to switch her off forever would have been a hard situation for him. But no, he doesn't give it. Karen Thompson cares more about Lois in this scene
than he does.
Than Tom Selleck does. It's a very odd thing that they do. But he the phone rings again. It's a landline wall phone in the future. But he like, hello.
They couldn't even imagine cordless phone technology as an innovation.
Yep. It's also that weird pale yellow color that all the kitchens were. Like that's the touch. So he gets on the phone and we hear part of the conversation, but not all the conversation. And Karen's like, "I'm coming with you to where he's taking Bob." He's like, No. No. He said I'd come alone. If he sees you, he'll kill Bobby. I got to do this by myself. But no buts. Like just if I tell you, do you promise you won't come? I was like, why would you even think that? Of course she'll come if you tell her. Yeah. And then he actually goes, that's a dumb idea, and he leaves. He like doesn't tell her, so she's able to like get Lois up enough so that she can recount what was said on the phone, and he gives her the address. It is the same open air construction size skyscraper they went to earlier in the film,
where he was not wearing a hard hat, and they could have just killed him then.
And so he goes there by himself, pulls up, and there's that elevator he wouldn't get on earlier because it was too scary. He gets there, and you can hear from the top floor, I guess, shouting down, Gene Simmons go, "Don't worry, those spiders won't hurt you." And I'm like, yeah, I know. Look at them. Like you could just kick them and they just go flying. Like they're made out of tinfoil. What do you do?
Away.
They won't hurt you. Get on the elevator and come to the top floor. And he does. And he wants the rest of the templates, and he's got Bobby up there. and he says, he gets up there. It's like, all right, I'll give you your templates. I'll give you all the stuff. Just let my son go. And Luther lets him go. He's like, okay, get on the elevator and go down to the bottom, says Dad. But Dad, I want you to come with me. You go. I got to stay up here. And so then he does. He's like, ha, 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 ha. Those spiders are programmed to kill the first thing that steps off that elevator. Bobby, hit the stop button or whatever, right? I can't, Dad. It's not working. Oh, no. And then Karen Thompson shows up, and she's able to, because she hasn't stepped off the elevator, the spiders won't attack her. So she climbs up to, the second floor and is able to, grab him off the elevator as it comes down and, pulls him up there. They're standing on the second floor. They're just standing there waiting. They can't do anything. She's a girl. What's she going to do? Help? So then it's Tom Selleck up there, and Luther starts shooting the Star Wars student film ass gun at him, but misses, because apparently this gun misses when it wants to, when the story needs him to. So then he jumps onto the elevator and hits the down button, but it won't go down, and then he hits the up button and it goes all the way to the top. And he's at the top. He's dealing with all the vertigo, and then you hear the unmistakable sound of the spiders, which is, you know what it sounds like? You know those little, you ever have those little chintzy little plastic wind-up toys where you turn the little knob on the side? It sounds like that, but cranked up. Oh no, that's definitely not the sound you want. You can actually hear the gears turning. But anyway, they get on the elevator with him, right? He is able to kick one of them off the elevator, but then they jump up onto the chain link or whatever on either side of him, and they shoot him with acid, because you hear Luther go, "Those spiders are amazing, aren't they? They're filled with acid." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So they squirt acid at his cheeks, which just gives him some weird bruising, a little bit of burns, but nothing else. If it's acid, I feel like it would do worse. But
pretty weak ass acid, yeah.
Yeah. So he's trying to get the elevator has stopped. He's trying to get the reset button to work. And it says, he opens up this thing, says, hit reset button, located here, and it's pointing underneath the elevator. Why would you manufacture an elevator where if it's broken and you're inside it, the only way for you to fix it is to get underneath it? I feel like that's a design flaw. But
or have robots that can come fix it, or what? Everything's robotics, right? So
he swings himself down onto the underside of this thing, while holding himself up like it's the monkey bars and trying to crawl across the bottom of this thing. And then he's trying to hit the button. Meanwhile, there are more of these little spiders, and he's able to kick them off, hit them with a pole or something. And he's able to hit the button, and he swings back up there, and it goes down just far enough to be at Luther's level. And Gene Simmons, who has been just glowering at the camera, being a bad actor this whole time, now turns it up a million times.
Yes.
Just he's going, everything is said through clenched teeth and his big eyes. Oh, I'm going to get you. I don't like you at all. So what happens exactly? All I know is that Gene Simmons has a microfilm. Is there a fight scene on the elevator? The other thing I remember is that Gene Simmons, they're on the elevator, and somehow Tom Selleck turns the elevator going down at an incredible rate of speed.
Yes.
That's what it is. And then he hits the brake, and this, because he's laying down, it doesn't affect him. But Gene Simmons loses his balance because the brakes are hit so fast while going so fast, and he falls out of the elevator. He is the first person to come out of the elevator. And so the spiders are activated, and all of them attack him, and his eyes go crazy, and he's ah, as he is like all of his orifices are injected with acid, and then he is dead, lying there with his eyes wide open. Right. Tom Selleck has a brief reunion with his partner and his son, and then he goes over to check the dead body of Gene Simmons, who promptly jumps back to life in a full jump scare where he reaches up and grabs Tom Selleck by the throat. Ah! And Tom Selleck reacts like this. Tom Selleck completely no-sells the villain of the film, coming back to life and attempting to strangle him. Completely no-sells it. And then he dies for real. And then Bobby, I guess, goes out to the car or something. And Gene Simmons lights on fire. So then he's standing there with Karen Thompson. And talking about being a part. I guess now we're really partners or whatever. And then he says to her, "Can you cook?" And she's like, "I better give him a big old kiss so he knows that I can cook. And also, I can't wait to be his wife who just stays at home and cooks for Bobby." And never like. And then there's a shower of sparks that come down through the entire closing credits as they make out, standing there as sparks fly all around them. Any one of which could ignite all of the hairspray she has in her hair. She's not at all concerned by any of that. But I love that they're like, basically, like, let's be really romantic. Can you cook? Because in a world, however advanced robotically it may be, in a world where all the lady cops have to wear skirts and high heels, the most important thing for a prospective girlfriend is, can you cook? Now, I will forgive it slightly because it does seem that Jack Ramsay himself cannot cook, which is why he got the model of robot that is Lois, who can cook for him. But it just does really reek of like, I won't marry you unless you can cook.
And just that's the first thing he says to her in a quote-unquote romantic fashion.
Yes.
This is ridiculous.
And I also want to make sure I give them their props because I made sure and watched all the credits all the way to the end because I wanted to know. Here we go. Robotic Systems International is the name of the company. Spider robots made by Robotic Systems International. I can only assume that they went out of business shortly after the release of this movie because they were given credit for making these ridiculous things.
They're awful. They're awful.
They're awful.
And I don't know, as a BattleBots aficionado myself, just insulting. But it's just, there's so much that's weird about it. That whole ending scene, I'm like, why didn't they just try and kill Tom Selleck the first time he was there? And they could have just had the robot malfunction and killed him with the concrete. Like, the whole ending hour of this movie, like, could have gotten cut out. And second of all, I kind of said it already, but like, it feels like they go so far out of this way to include robots in a movie that's about robotics. Like, there's so many. You don't have like a mastermind that's not visible in a cave somewhere, like having the robots trying and taking them out as much. Like, we should not see Gene Simmons at the crime scene, at the restaurant. Like, Gene Simmons should be like in the Batcave or whatever, like manipulating robots in this world to try and take them out. And then we see him at the end because they've chased him down. But like all the fight scenes and the stuff with Kirstie Alley, like it's so superfluous to any of this. It's kind of insane.
What's insane to me is that if this was a movie made in 1984 starring a bunch of people who didn't make any movies after 1989, You know what I mean? Who you never heard from again. Like perhaps if it was directed by a director, written by him, and you were like, well, that's the only thing that guy ever did. Okay. But this is Michael freaking Crichton. Like, I don't know how many New York Times bestsellers he wrote. Like Jurassic Park, Andromeda Strain, Sphere, all these major movies and TV and TV movies and novels that he wrote and screenplays that he wrote. And this is the first thing he ever directed, I believe, and also the last thing. But there's that it came from his mind, and it was his script, his idea, and he got to see it put into work. It wasn't like he wrote the script and then some other director ruined it.
Right.
This was his vision, realized to his own ideas. And they got Magnum PI. Again, Tom Selleck, who, like, there were and not...
Gene Simmons was a huge deal in 1984.
Right. Yes. Yes, he was. But that's like a little novelty. Hey, Gene Simmons, big rock star in a movie. Like, that's a novelty. They built this whole thing on the back of Tom Selleck being one of the 10 biggest celebrities in America. Like Magnum PI, my grandmother watched the episode while taping it so she could watch it right after the episode aired. She loved Magnum PI. This is a woman who was in her 60s and was like he had this. He was a huge celebrity,
right?
And they were like, let's take this huge TV celebrity. We're gonna make him a movie star. This also, I do wonder this, because TV contracts were usually laid out in a certain number of years. I'm wondering if this was around when he'd be doing renegotiations. And if this movie had been a hit, he would have been like, I'm going to Hollywood, bitches. But instead, like, no, this is terrible. Come back to Hawaii, Magnum.
Yeah.
And honestly, living in Hawaii for like 6 months, 7 months out of the year, not making bad. TV, not bad. Not a bad gig. If you can get it. So yeah, I'm honestly, it's a good thing for him. This thing didn't hit, because he would have been pigeonholed into robotic cop movies for the rest of his life.
Oh boy. This feels like, if you remember the Netflix show of Glow, what Mark Maron's character as the has-been was doing. Like, this is what that feels like. It's so dumb. And again, like, the lack of effort around the actual robots is kind of what surprises me. Right. Like, that this whole thing is based on technology, and not only is it superfluous to the plot that it's about, but like, they look terrible. Like, you almost have to, I'm gonna have to keep the flick in so that you go and watch it, so that you see how bad the robots actually look. The spider ones look like they look like props in a haunted house from when you're a kid. Like, they're real bad. Real bad. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I have to keep. I mean, like, it's a terrible movie. Don't get me wrong, but I highly recommend it.
Yes,
like you have to watch how, like, it's streaming on Amazon Prime or Tubi. I think it's on Tubi.
Tubi, yeah, Amazon? Tubi for free.
Tubi.
You can watch it for free. You lucky duck.
You can watch it for free on Tubi.tv. And listen, no matter what we say, we're not doing it justice. Like, no. It is.
Even just because we can't even convey the weight that everything is assigned. Like, it is so dramatic at points in this movie for these joke-looking props. And it has a crackerjack cast. Like, you have Tom Selleck, you have Kirstie Alley. I was surprised because I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those things where it's like Tom Selleck does his best with it, but like, he doesn't. Like, him no-selling the climax of the movie is pretty hilarious to me. Like, he has no facial expression whatsoever when the villain who tried to murder you and your kid and your partner comes back to life. Like, he does not try in this at all.
No. There's so little effort being put into it. It is like he's putting effort into how badly he is wanting out of the movie.
Yeah, it's like he knew what he got himself into by the end of this, for sure.
Wow.
Even them like going through the cornfields, they're like going through them like in sync together. Like it's so much worse than we've even told you.
No, right. And you have to watch it.
Yes, you absolutely do. I have to. Mm-hmm. Is it a good movie? Absolutely not.
No.
Are we keeping the flick in? I think we have to because it's it's
that level. It should be like a legendary thing. It should be a rite of passage that everyone should have to like. It should be like oh my God, this movie is so bad, you have to see it. Like it is. I cannot believe that I was alive when this came out. I was not of the age that I would have been able to see it. I was like 5, but I can't believe I was alive when this came out and lived cognizant of everybody involved in it. Michael Crichton, Tom Selleck, Gene Simmons, and Kirstie Alley. Like, and the guy who was the bad cop on Police Academy. Like, I knew all these people, and no one mentioned to me there was a movie that was this movie. I had to find it myself when I was in my 40s. This is a movie that had I known it existed when I was 20, I would have watched it every year of my 20s. I would have brought people over to have parties to watch how crazy and bad and dumb this movie is.
This should have the same following as The Room. Like, this should be the same as The Room, if not more.
It is, wow, man. It is bad. And you gotta see it. So we're gonna keep the flick in. Next week we don't know what we're gonna do, but I'm sure maybe if it's bad and also not watchable, then we will tell you to get the flick out of here. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
RESPECT. Click the subscribe button and find out what it means to me. Nah, that doesn't have a ring to it. But if you like videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, subscribe now.